So what we got here is some of these rocks. Now this is not, this doesn't look as good as it will look because the normals are not being drawn. This is actually a reduced polygon version of a much higher polygon version. Yeah, this was quite a few polygons, but the point is it's still a pretty good bit of polygons, like 20 grand, 20,000. So to make a low polygon object so that when you're farther away from the object it'll load a lower level of detail, well, you need two objects. First of all, you need to duplicate one of them. I use Shift D to duplicate, but what's more important is the naming. Anything that you have, you keep the name the same, you just add an underscore, and in this case we'll say 100. So this will be the low polygon model, this will be the higher polygon model, and oops, I made a mistake. There's a little bitty lowercase a before the number. Okay. So when this thing changes from 300 pixels, when it's 300 pixels large, it'll transition to the next lower detail. So the 300 will be the high poly model, the 100 will be the low poly model. Damn it, I still forgot to put that little bitty A in there. Alright. So we're going to hide the high poly model so that we can see how much we can get away with as far as reducing these poly counts. Now what I find works pretty good is to do a planar, or whatever, however you say that, with the UVs intact. That can usually get me pretty low poly counts, and it still look like a reasonable item from, I mean, it still looks like it's reasonably, you can still believe it, it's the same object. Sometimes I'll do, yeah, that looks terrible. Sometimes I'll do a combination where I do one decimate with the collapse and then do a planar. So that's probably about as good as we're gonna get. We maybe could get it better than that, but that's still pretty low. The thing is, you just want it to look like the other object when it changes to the low polygon version. So yeah, the actual super high poly version, I think, was it was under 1,000,000, but it was still a lot. So now we need to add two empty plane axes. Call one base 0, 0 and the other start 0, 1. These are needed in order for the LOD system to work. It will not work unless they're in this hierarchy of folders. So we're going to move them into there. You hold shift and left click, drag and drop. Just like moving something on your desktop, except you hold shift when you move the things into these different things here. People ask all the time about converting Sketchfab to BeamNG. Well, the main thing with Sketchfab is you need to undo all the little folders that are in there by unlinking them. Alright, so now we need a collision mesh. Not that anybody's probably going to purposely try to run into this, but you never know. The way I would do the collision mesh so that it's not 10,000 polygons or 20,000 polygons, I'll just make a mesh plane like this, and I'll subdivide it in edit mode, edge subdivide, and down here this little tab, I'll put maybe, let's see, 50, maybe even less than that. I don't even, you just basically want it to be a ballpark, you know, representation. So now I'll shrink wrap it to the other object. Shrink wrap. And you see that doesn't really quite. So you can press G and move this thing around to get like a real time view of how it's wrapping. You also got these other options, like nearest vertex. Sometimes I'll use project, and I'll do a positive and negative projection, which that seems to nothing quite as good as it could be. But I guess it's better than nothing. It'll work. We'll apply this, and we'll rename this to COL-MESH-1. That'll be our collision mesh. We'll move this into start also. So this is how it'll be. Now, just to make sure, I'm going to set everything's origin to the 3D cursor. Apply all transforms, and let's export this to the game. This is a power of 2 texture. I converted it already to a DDS, so the game shouldn't have no problem making that texture. It may, but you never know. Water rock. That's what these little rocks look like to me, like these water rocks. Shell, stone, or whatever they call them. Not shell. Slate rocks, that's what the word is. Slate rock. They're not exactly slate rocks, but they're kind of close. Loading up the old 5-year track here. About how long it'll take to make this track? About 5 years. Shit. It'll take a long time. I'm gonna work on other things in between this track though. This thing will take me forever to make. I'm not even quite sure that I'm really ready to make a track on this scale yet. Like I said, I'm just gonna release this track in segments as it gets more and more done. I haven't released anything yet. I still want to get at least one section of it finished. People can be quite unkind when things are not done. My first track, I'll never forget. Comment: "This track is poo." That's actually, it was pretty bad. I just uploaded it too early. Let's see, water rocks. Alright. Well, that looks like poo also. Yeah, I know. It's not presentable yet. It needs more to shine. Let's take this over here. We'll go over on this other side where I ain't really worked a whole lot and just started just dabbing here and there just a bit. Ain't done much yet. This is pretty rocks. So the game made the texture, so the game did not put on anastrophic filtering, I can tell you that already. And then of course we got our other maps to add. Normals, specular. Not sure about that. Specular ain't gonna work. Let me go back to Blender. Blender. Let me. Oh shit! I can't now. I done messed. Crap! I done messed that model up. So I'll just load the first map for the specular. Yeah, that was actually an ambient occlusion map I stuck in there, but I think that looks pretty damn good actually. Look even better with water running over it. Not that this has anything to do with this particular level. I don't live in the UK, so I don't know what this track's gonna kind of be fictional in the way that I don't. It's not like I can walk the track and know exactly what it really looks like everywhere. And it's such a big track, man. It'd be like near impossible to really look at reference pictures, even though like pictures give you a good idea. It's just such a large area. Well, the way I can explain it, it's kind of like if you were to look at a maze, just eyeballing it and like looking for the solution to get out of it and trying to memorize it. That to me is how I can explain trying to memorize based on looking at an image, because you can't be always looking at millions of images while you're making this thing. So it's like, best memory of the reference pictures. Damn it, I hate that. That does it. I'm just trying to block this in here. Oh yeah, this model came from Sketchfab. This is another. Mostly what you see on Sketchfab now are all photogrammetry stuff, which anybody can make nowadays. I'm appreciative of these other photogrammetry places because like these places don't exist around where I live, so I'm happy somebody went out there and made them. I'd love to live in a place where like they got like a huge earthquake and like the roads are cracked open and I'd be out there making models all day long of cracked roads. And someone asked me also about making stuff look more like real tracks, more realistic. as far as terrain paints and integrating in aspects of, say, from Google Earth and whatnot. So I've used Google Earth to make these kind of models too, but Google Earth ain't gonna make something this detailed. I mean, up close like this. I mean, it does great detail. Google Earth looks great, but it's like better for farther away things. If you know what I mean. I could see like Google Earth using Unreal 5 to have like super high tessellations and everything. I'm sure it will be one day. One day. Oh, I didn't even check the LOD. See, it just... Oh, that's where the shadow disappeared. You're probably not going to see a LOD change because it was such a close match. It was a pretty good LOD transition. I don't think you're going to notice, or wouldn't notice. This is how I use my terrain to help blend in. Blend in terrain to non-terrain. Basically making a gradient from the real object to the 3D model. I got several different paints and textures that I, flip between and see which one works best for any given particular spot. A lot of terrain paints. Many terrain paints. You just have to keep experimenting till you find what works. There's always something that can blend better. And that's how I would do that. That's how I would integrate it. Now, I mean, now this isn't, well, I wouldn't leave this, but you get the idea. This is kind of like how I integrate in like my 3D models and with my terrain. I'll go a little bit farther, do a little bit more with it. A little more here, a little more there, till it looks like it's starting to come together. Maybe there is grass up there. See, this model has actual 3D mesh of what was foliage. As you can see, it's sticking out there. Which you cannot use a terrain in the way that it would fill that up and not create a wall there. So that's the limitation with the terrain block. But it's fine. We can always add things to that with the forest tool. Got all kinds of bushes and twigs and different things you can just add here and there to kind of make up for this. Rocks. I got my rocks here that I made also with mushroom. I'm not really a fan of using the I'm not a huge fan of using um, the forest to do these. I like to manually place things. I'm not really a fan of placing them like this. But I guess whatever gets the job done, right? But yeah, I don't like them. I like to hand plant them. I mean, I do use the forest tool. Don't get me wrong. I use it quite a bit. I guess I'm more of a traditional type of artist that likes to hand plant things more so than and that looks like a great place for a little bitty pool right there, little thing of water. Let's see. I actually got a river I made on the other side that I'm gonna clone it and bring it over here. Wait, that's the wrong river. But that one will work, I reckon. Wasn't the one I thought. I got a couple of them on here. River. Node depth 1, node width 1. Nope, need to be more than that. Maybe 5. We don't need all this. Just need a couple. Maybe just 2. No idea where that's going. It's just going somewhere. Let's duplicate this one. Clone. I don't think it cloned it though. Control D. There we go. Well, you're not gonna see it if it's on the other side of the wall. tweaking on these. Don't need no waves. Well, maybe a little. Oh, damn it, wrong thing. Where's my particle emitter? I don't see it. I mean, I see it. I just don't know why I can't pick it. Alright, I ain't worried about it. Something's not on somewhere.